Good morning. While insider threats are not new, they are arguably some of the most challenging types of attacks to deal with. They can involve malware-less techniques and lateral movement of legitimate user accounts within your environment. Certainly, they can also be some of the most damaging to your environment. Once an attacker gains a foothold in the environment and they move laterally, they can elevate their privilege and they can have open access to the resource that matters most to organizations, whether that's customer data, intellectual property, whatever it may be. So let's now explore how listening to your network within your environment can dramatically enhance your ability to see, understand, and respond to insider threats. Sorry, let the clicker catch up with me here. Okay, so ensuring a good state of readiness for dealing with such attacks certainly requires investment in people, process, and technology. But frankly, the more technology can lift the burden and improve the effectiveness of people, all the better. So what technologies are fundamental in this fight? Firstly, you can't defend against what you can't see. So real-time visibility is crucial, including at the network level. Next, as attackers continue the shift of focus toward humans in the environment as their vector of choice, you need to consider the behavior of individuals, employees, contractors in the environment as they go about their business. You need to understand what normal looks like so you can in turn recognize the abnormal. And if you find abnormalities in your environment or potential indicators of compromise, you need to have bigger picture context on what may be going on. You need to understand if the activity that you see is part of a large or coordinated set of activities in the environment, targeting specific assets within that organization. Of course, these capabilities and technologies can be very effective, but they need to fit, lastly, with the workflows that matter to you and your organization. So you need to implement the technologies in a way that they make the people efficient, but always with an eye on how you can continuously look to introduce automation into the environment. So thinking about the network piece specifically, at Corvil, we've been privileged to help 10 of the top 10 global banks continuously monitor their networks over the last 10 or so years. What we do for them is we allow them to derive business insights and intelligence from the network at extreme scales. So on a daily basis, we're crunching over 50 petabytes of data for these large organizations. So what matters to them is the protection of their brand, of their business, and a critical part of their business, the large financial organizations, is the transactions, the monetary transactions. So we give them the facility to monitor those transactions and safeguard them within their environment. But in doing so, what have we learned specifically about how the network can be brought to bear on the insider threat challenge? So in fact, although network traffic is typically seen as a difficult data source to work with, if you tap it in the right way and you listen to your network in the right way, you can get very rich, granular insights about what users are doing on your network. If you think about it, as users go about their daily chores and tasks, they interact over the network, they leave a footprint on the network, whether that be file access, now VoIP calls, so calls have gone from the traditional to the digital, websites, database transactions, remote access. What's especially important here is that some of this activity traverses the firewall, so-called north-south traffic. But much of this activity is lateral movement. It's east-west. So it's from machine to machine within the environment. And this, we've found with organizations, is a blind spot and one that attackers increasingly look to exploit. So what if you could tap into your network and have a way to get very clean and easy visibility into this activity, link it back to the individuals in the environment and how they're going about their business on the network? Well, the first thing is that is a compelling proposition, but it's also potentially a lot of data. And already we struggle with data volumes that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So what's critical is to take that data and shape it and present it in a way that's actionable for security operations teams. And one way to do that is to make it centric to the user, so pivot everything off the individual and what they're doing within the environment, but also put some prioritization to the activity. So find the more anomalous, the more suspicious activity, and bubble that up so it's very clear to a security team if they need to take action and they've got finite time, where should they focus their efforts? So the next thing you need to think about in making network intelligence work for you and your organization is how can you operationalize it? Again, a lot of traffic, useful insights on user activity, but it needs to be operationalized. And we've learned in practice from working with clients that there's a funnel or a pipeline to do this effectively. Firstly, you need to discover what's on your network, very similar to what Mark described. So there's the managed machines, but what about the unmanaged machines? What about the new proliferation of smart devices, IoT-enabled devices? It's very challenging to get a view on what is truly connected to your network at any one time. And it only takes one system to be a rogue system for there to be an issue. Also, there's an increasing usage of encrypted traffic in our networks. So you need to discover, you need to decrypt, and what we call decode. So you need to take the raw traffic and turn it into plain English conversational detail on what machines are doing, how they're talking to each other. The next thing we found critical is to enrich, so to make this information actionable. And that can be enriching threat intelligence to put attack campaign context to activity on the network. But probably the most fundamental that we found necessary is entity context. So who's the user behind the activity? What's the system they're on? So we insert and inject that context into all the traffic that we deal with. Then you've got a structured data set upon which you can look for indicators of compromise. You can baseline normal activity to look for anomalies. So you're starting now to reduce the data volume to actionable information for the security team. And when we find suspicious users or hosts in the environment, the next thing we do is we put a special level of scrutiny on everything that they're doing. So it's essentially like hitting the HD record button for particular users or hosts in the environment. So you're starting to closely track and record forensically what they're doing. Calculate the risk score to bubble up which are the most suspicious, and critically, we need to fit that in with the workflows of the security teams. So in terms of fitting it in with the workflows of security teams, we found that it's really critical to not just present insights, you need to help close the loop for the security team. So from a Corvil perspective, that's meant for us, we've integrated with tools like Carbon Black on the endpoint, Splunk on the centralized analysis front, Palo Alto on the perimeter and network analysis front, and then Active Directory to get the user and entity context. So integrating with existing systems so when you deploy, it fits in with the workflows of the organization. So this is how we've brought this together and essentially removed the complexity but delivered the benefits of tapping into the network for an organization. They can clearly see through Corvil, at a glance, live, at any moment, who are the riskiest users and what's their associated network activity. So in summary, what we've found is network intelligence, deriving insights from the network, can dramatically help security teams to see, understand, and respond to evasive insider threats. And how we do that is we decode and make sense of the network traffic flowing in the environment, apply algorithms over that, and then ultimately integrate with your existing systems to help you close the loop and get to containment, remediation, and resolution. So thanks for your time. Hope that was useful.